Hello and welcome to what is going to be a bit of an interesting vlog. So, what I'm doing today is something a little special. I'm going to be taking this trailer here behind me, converting it from a cargo trailer into a mobile mobile workshop. So we'll take a look at this and then we'll get started. Alright, so here I am on the inside of the trailer. Take a look around, kind of give you an idea what this thing looks like to begin with. Now, fortunately, some of the work has already been done for me by the previous owner. Previous owner was using this as basically a cheap, primitive sleeper for when they were up north, out hunting. So it's got some cabinets in it already. You can see here. You know what? I'm gonna turn this around. All right. So we got some cabinets. We've got linoleum on the floor. It needs to be cleaned, but, it's pretty good linoleum here. We've got a chest of drawers here, and you can see I've set some of the parts that I'm going to use up on top of it. But we got that. We've got a vent in the ceiling. Just a couple of little things here and there. Just kind of take a look around. I'm going to have to move the spares out of here, too. The door... Let's pop outside here real quick. The door has the standard cargo latch, so one of the things I'm going to want to do is try and replace that with a more traditional RV latch. I've got a ramp here. Probably not going to use it too much, but the idea is, let me turn back around. So I'm going to make this a mobile workshop. So I'm going to need to put in electrical, like RV style household electrical. I need some hot water. I need basically hot water, a sink, gray water tank is what that means, because I'm not putting a toilet or anything in. I'm just going to be putting in some water to do some hot forming, or wet forming specifically. I'm going to need to put in a little bit of HVAC stuff, probably place a window unit in here somewhere for cooling, and I'll probably just use a space heater for heating. Other than that, that's going to be about it. So I've got a couple of the parts here. One of the most important of which being this guy right here. This, let me see if I can manage this one-handed, holding the camera with the other one. Alright, so this is my electrical inlet. This needs to basically get put into the side of the trailer here. I need to punch a hole through. So I've got the old cutting blade here for that. So that will let me bring the electrical in from outside into here, and it'll be the standard RV plug. So if I end up at like a campground or something, I'll be able to plug in. Now that's going to be a 30 amp setup, which will allow me to run a couple of 15 amp circuits in here. I'm going to run one specifically for the heating and cooling, one for my regular electrical. I'm actually going to run a third as well, which means I might end up tripping breakers elsewhere for the lighting, but it's just lighting, and it's going to be LED lighting. I've got the box here, the little LED lights. Got these guys, going to put them up there. You can see I've got those little round lights. Those are 12 volt lights. They're hooked for basically the trailer connection. So if this is hooked to a car, those lights will work. But I'm going to want some that'll work, if I'm plugged in somewhere. Other than that, I'm also going to have a full 30 amp circuit that won't draw the full 30 amps, because I'm going to get one of those little inline hot water heaters so I can just heat the water as needed. I probably won't be able to run that and the AC unit at the same time, so I'll have to be a little careful with that, but we'll see once we get it done. The idea here is I've got this cabinet here. I'm going to pull this shelf out, easy enough, it just pops up, and I'm going to put my electrical panel in here. That way it's nice and out of the way. I'm probably going to end up putting some proper handles on these guys as well. Need that. At the moment, this just has this little piece of PVC that flips down to keep it from moving during transit. I might want to put in the actual RV style things that keep the little things closed. Can't remember what they're called. I'll figure it out. But that's where we're starting. So we'll come back once we've made some progress. So I begin by mounting the power box on the wall. I then move on and
cut a hole in the side of the trailer from the inside first. And here you can see the plugs that come out. It is, of course, two separate pieces, of one metal, one wood. I then head to the outside and drill through the pilot holes for the bolts that are going to hold our power plug in place. I then wire up the power plug and insert it from the outside, so that it comes in, putting the cover on to the inside. I only managed to get 3 of the bolts in place precisely, but that will be fine. Let's move on to where I am after.
Okay, so I have gotten the power to the point where it will come into the trailer here. So we've got my power inlet right here. It's only secured, unfortunately. Let me see if I can get that a little bit there. This one is missing, but this guy is good and secure. The other 3 are holding it on fine. That's the power in. I've got my end of my cable there. Got my breaker box mounted on the wall. All good. I've probably already voice-overed most of the steps in this process. Now I need to get the power from there to the box and then start working on my circuits. Alright, so I've gotten my electrical boxes in place. Let me flip it around here and show you that. So I got a couple down there. I got my box here for my light switch. And I got my box up there for the lights. I got one here that's going to be a separate circuit for my heating and cooling. Now, as part of this process, I ended up having to open up the sink and basically get the legs on it. Let me flip this around again. Get the legs on it so that I could get my spacing down. My table and my sewing machine I have measurements for, but I kind of needed to visually see where that was, because I'm also going to need a circuit for the hot water heater for it, which I don't have yet, but I need to make sure I had the correct amount of space. So now that those are done, I need to actually do the electrical runs. And that's probably going to take me a couple hours, just because of trying to figure all this out, especially this guy up here, because that circuit has to go over to that switch and then all the way back over into this cabinet where my electrical box is. So that one's going to be fun. That's probably the part of this that was the most poorly planned. But it'll be nice when it's done. Actually, you know what? I can do one more thing before I have this done. I can mount my lights. Alright, so I have managed to get my lights installed. I've got those 2 there and one further down that way. Now, as you can see, I was working around the existing lights that way, somewhere. There we go. Those existing bubble lights. I got one down at the other end too. Those are hooked into the 12-volt setup for the trailer. So that way, if I'm plugged into a vehicle, those will still work and I'll have light in here. And if I'm plugged in normally, then I'll have my overhead LEDs. Okay, I've got, as you can see, the cable is set up so that it'll run just about perfect to there. I'll have to, staple it up. And the one down at this end is facing this way, because it's going to have to go around that skylight and basically do the same thing. That'll allow me to keep my cables nice up out of the way, not have to worry about any of it. Alright. Now, enough procrastinating. I'm actually going to have to do the electrical wires this time. Alright, I'll be back after that. Okay, it is now a couple of hours later. Let's see, what time is it? Yeah, it's about 3 hours later. I've gotten 3 out of the 4 circuits done. Let me walk through what's doing. Ignore the lawnmower in the background. Apparently the neighbor decided now's a good time to mow the lawn. So let me flip this around here. Alright. So we got our box. You can see we got 3 of my circuits in. This is my 30 amp down here. You can see that says 30. These are all 15s. These are the ones that I've already got in. So I got my power, comes in, goes to the box. I've got 3 circuits coming out. Those are the white wires. So my first one comes down, goes to this outlet, goes to that outlet. This is where I'm going to have my sewing machine and my regular workstation. Bam. This one at the top here comes up, goes all the way over here to the outlet, or to the switch, and then goes all the way back up to that outlet. That is where these lights are going to plug in. I just haven't plugged them in yet. I've got to get all these wires secured. I just don't have any staples on me at the moment. And then this one, it comes out, goes behind there, comes over to this one. This is going to be, I'm going to have my AC unit up here, and then I'm going to have, you know, my heating down here. So those will both run to that. I'm only going to run one at a time, so I figured dedicated circuit for that, probably a good idea. Now my 30 amp is going to come out, come down here, and it's going to be for my hot water heater. I haven't run it yet because I don't have the hot water heater yet. So I want to make sure I have it before I've got that ready. Alright, so I think, let's flip this around. I think I'm about ready to call it a day. I've got the electrical done, minus the one part that actually has to do with the plumbing. I have to order some more plumbing parts in before I'm ready to do the plumbing. So I think that's going to be the next time I come through here. I'm not sure if I'm doing this in one single vlog or if I'm going to do this as, you know, multiple parts. You guys will know. It depends on how much video is left. Alright, that's it for the moment. Okay, so, a new day, a new set of stuff to do. My parts have come in. Let me turn this around, show you, walk you through what I got going on here. Alright, so first off, I got my staples. That'll let me get all these wires tacked up into place so that they're not terrible looking. There's that. Next, we've got this is my water in. Alright, that's got a 1/2 inch fitting there. And now, because they don't make a single part that does the job, I had to go to the coupling to this to make sure I could, you know, make it all the way through the wall. That's, I'm going to say 1.5 2 inches, something like that. I got my T. I got a pair of those shorter versions of those nipples so that we can go to these guys here. I got 3 of them. One is going to come out, go straight to the cold water on the faucet. One of them is going to come out, go down to the inlet here on our little inline hot water heater. Then the third one is going to be from there to the faucet. That's our water in. Our water out is a little more complicated. I've got to cut this pipe down a little bit because it's a little too tall. This is my pipe out of my drain here. Alright, so we got that. It goes into a U. We got this guy. I've already hooked up the extra parts to this because this was being a pain in my butt. So, I've got a pressure fitting set up on the end of this guy here into a thread which goes on to this guy here. I ended up taping this on top of the clamping because it was being such a pain. Now this hose is going to end up getting cut down to an appropriate length, and we'll end up going on this guy, which is another one of these with the thread. That guy goes, let's see down here, let's move this guy back, into this guy right here. That is going to be my in. Now I've got 3 1/2 inch holes there. I got 2 plugs, and I've got this guy here, which is going to go from the tank into the vinyl tubing to the drain valve. That'll be on the outside. So that is the entire loop that the water is going to take in here. So that's going to be fun to set up. Of course, I also still have the, hang on, turn that back around. I've got, of course, the electrical portion of the hot water heater to set up as well. Of course, that's back in our little cabinet here. That is going to go to my 30 amp breaker because that is what that requires. It says it's 29 amps. We'll see how well it plays with everything else. Fortunately, I'm only going to need hot water every once in a while. This guy came with a fitting for the faucet here. Let's see if I've got these parts sitting around. I ended up having to pull the fitting apart because it would not fit on the faucet. But I ended up putting the internal parts inside the cap that did fit on the faucet. So this thing is saying it's 2 gallons per minute. No, it's half a gallon per minute because I changed the internal components. Swapped that out, ended up pulling out. There was like 3 of these bloody things in there and it was keeping it from fitting, so I pulled one out and screwed on just fine. So, hopefully there'll be no leaks when I'm done. I will come back once I have made some progress on this mess. Plumbing is a pain. Alright, so I've made a little bit of progress. I tipped the whole thing over on its side so I could get to stuff easier. I got the faucet hooked up. Got its little thing there. It's connected in. It's secured to the sink. That's good. I got the drain hooked up. I hacked down that pipe by about 3 or 4 inches. Goes into the U. I hacked that pipe down about 2 or 3 inches so that it could go into this tube. I'm going to have to hack that down before it goes into here. That, of course, will be with this part. That will pop right in there. I got to knock out... There's a block in there at the moment. I got to look up to see what I'm supposed to do to knock that out. I went ahead and plugged the bottom one. I got the out to the drain in this one. I've left this one open at the moment because I realized that I'm going to need to vent this somehow. So I got to give that a little bit of thought before I just go ahead and plug it. Then of course that will get the vinyl hose to the thing. I haven't put any holes in the wall yet. Wanted to get this, the stuff connected to the sink as set up as I can. Next I'm going to knock that out, get the drainage to the tank done. Then I think it's going to be time to get the hot water wired in so that I know where that's sitting so I can get all the hoses connected to that, because that's going to be this cable here, or this hose here is going to go to that. This one will go straight to the T-section. As you can see, I've hooked the T-section up because that'll go to this part. This part will go into there, and that'll all be good. We'll just, so you still need to put the holes in the wall for these 2 guys. As you can see, I hooked this guy up. Hopefully that's going to be enough length to get through. This guy, I'll just have the vinyl, so that should be plenty. Alright, back once I've made a little bit more progress. Alright, made a little more progress. I've gotten a hole in the tank. I got the fitting on the tank. I have a hose clamp. I've cut the hose down. Let me flip this around and show you some stuff. Alright. So we got this guy screwed in. As you can see, let's see if we can kind of see in there. You can see that that hole is nice and perfect and just a little bit smaller than the actual thing. Well, that's because I ended up using the 1 1/4 bit to get in there. It wanted me to use a razor blade, but there was no way I was managing that. So I went and made it a little bit smaller. It's fine. It's a gray water tank, so a little bit of plastic in it ain't gonna hurt. And that was the leg falling off. I'll fix that in a minute. But yeah, I actually managed to get the plug out, so there was that. So now all I gotta do, since I've trimmed it down, just pop that on. Pop that clamp on first though. There we go. We'll just slide that all the way down. I'll tighten that clamp up. That'll be good to go on that end. I still got to get the vinyl hose on that, but that's going to come from the outside because I'm going to attach it to this, feed it through, then trim it down and attach it. I still need to get the hole in for this guy. Now, the problem is with these two, so you can see, that's got a couple of spots there, and it's got 3. Problem being, this is my only cutting blade. I need to go get another one. So, off to the store for a tool this time, and I will be back and then hopefully it'll be back once I have these holes drilled with my new tool. See you then. Okay, so I am back from the hardware store. I went and I picked up this little guy here. That's a 1-inch saw. 1-inch, cutting a bit. It might not quite be big enough, but I only really need this part for getting through the aluminum on the outside, which is thin enough that it's these little bumps right here. Like that, right where the ridges are, that might not fit through. So I might just push it through, call it good. Because I can always go back with a wood bit, which I have the larger ones, to get through the plywood here. So it'll be fine. What isn't fine is I got halfway back, and I realized I don't have the bolts for these little holes right there. And I got them for this guy too. So I'm not drilling the hole today. It is actually about 5 o'clock. I know I haven't shot much today. I didn't make much progress. I stood the sink up. It's got, the tank down there. I kind of got it in position. So I should probably still put the staples up, but I'm tired. So I'm going to come back tomorrow and hopefully finish up all the last of the electric, which is just the hot water heater here, and all of the rest of the water, which will be fine. So, yeah, because I forgot to bring a couple of things anyway that I was going to, load up. So my plan is currently, I'll head home, I'll go and get the couple of things I forgot tomorrow, bring it all, finish up the electric and plumbing, and maybe, I think, so I'm going to pop over here outside. So I got this door here, which I would really like to put an RV style lock in, like a little latch, but if you look, this piece of metal here is going to be a real pain to get through. So I think, at least for the interim, let me try and get here where you can actually see my face. So I think for the interim, I'm just going to end up getting a latch for the inside, and then when I am inside, I will just flip this down, put a padlock through it so nobody can lock me in. So that's going to be the revised plan, which basically means that if I can pick up a latch that'll be long enough, I might need to put a handle in on the inside too. So if I get a handle, latch, the other end of the latch, that should, dang it, me turning that way means you can't see my face at all. That should get me pretty much well enough that I can start using the trailer as a workshop. I really should get some, you really can't see that direction at all. Let me come and do this. I should really get some of the face plates for these guys, but that might wait. It's purely cosmetic anyway, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. But I'll come back tomorrow, we'll finish this up. Maybe there'll be a, part 2 at some point, but I know that once I finish getting the electric and the plumbing done, maybe the handle and stuff on the door, I'm going to call it good for the time being. And maybe come back for the improvements later, because all that's really left after that will be heating and cooling, and it's gotten too late in the year for me to find the AC unit I want. And heating is just going to be a space heater that plugs in to our existing plug, so that's not going to be a big deal. I think I've rambled on long enough because I am tired, and I get rambly when I'm tired. Alright, I will see you tomorrow. Alright, it is now Sunday. It is Sunday morning. I'm waking myself up. I have picked up a bunch of the parts I need in order to finish up the stuff that I kind of need to do today for my own sanity, if for no other reason. So, let's go over what I've got. Alright, so, I picked up some locks. There's now actually some stuff in here worth stealing. 4 locks will be enough to cover the whole trailer. So I have 2 for the back door, 1 for the side door, and 1 for the, not the trailer hitch, it's the other end of it, the ball. There's a lock for the ball, so it'll prevent anybody from towing it off, or, or keep it locked down in place while being towed. I've gotten the necessary bolts I need. These ones come with the nuts. It'll be fine. I picked up a 1.25 inch so that hopefully this guy will fit through a little bit easier. I'll check that in a minute. I still got to do that. Picked up some energy drink. Not sponsored. In fact, I haven't even had this brand before. Got the fruit punch version though, because that sounded the least disgusting. You know what? Let's give it a shot. Let's turn this around. Well, it sounds like a pop. Alright. Not bad. A little bit tangier than a Gatorade fruit punch, but that's about the closest thing I can compare it to. Not bad. Not sponsored. But hey, I don't find it too bad. So hey, if you're looking for Venom Energy, if you're looking to, sponsor somebody. Alright. Oh, and of course, a couple other things. I got the handle for the inside of the door. That'll be basically out there, about where those bolts are. Slightly off. And then I got a hook and eye that will basically, I'll be able to put the hook in on this side, put the eye in over there, and basically be able to keep the door closed. Keep the door closed while I'm in here. I'll just use one of these locks to lock the little thing. Let's actually pop outside and I'll show you the thing I'm talking about. I think I mentioned it a few times already though. So there's this little thing right here. If I put that down in place and lock it, you can't throw the bar in, so it won't be able to be, locked from the outside if the lock is already in it. So there's that. I, of course, still have the staples that I picked up yesterday that need to go in. Alright, so I think, let me come around here. So my next job is going to be connecting that to the outside. That'll be using this vinyl tube and the drain. After that, I either need to wire in and mount the hot water heater, or I need to bring my inlet, my water inlet, in through the wall and get all that stuff hooked up. It's one of those things where each of them is going to affect the placement of the other, and I'm not sure which order I want to do them in yet. I'll figure it out hopefully by the time I've got the drain done. Oh! While I'm standing here, wow, dark over here. Can you tell I haven't actually turned the power on yet? So I remembered to grab my 4-foot table from storage. This guy is going to be my basic workbench for doing all of my hand tooling. And that guy is going to get set up right here. That's what this outlet is going to go to, is to a power strip on there, so that anything I need to plug in will be able to be there. And I'll have this nice, little, table there to work from. And then over here will be the sewing machine. But before any of that stuff goes in, wow, that was out of focus. Before any of that stuff goes in, I gotta finish the water, and I gotta tack up these guys. I will see once I've made a little bit of progress. Alright, so once I got going. So what I ended up doing, I actually, instead of doing the drain first, I actually just finished the drain. Instead of doing the drain first, I mounted up the hot water heater, because I figured that my big limiting factor was the length of this cord here. Go up into the breaker box, got my 30 amp right there. This stuff, let me really getting close. That is braided cording, and that is 8 gauge wire which is more than you need for 30 amp. Because that, what you need for 30 amp is 10. And I don't know where my tool went. Where did it? Oh, it's under the panel. The tool I was using to skin the wire. Let's see if we can get this nice and close. Let's see if you can maybe see that. I don't know if it'll focus on it instead of me. There we go. You see the 10? Yeah, that only goes down to 10 gauge. So that was fun getting that skinned, and it's braided, so I had to, go back and twist everything and hope I didn't accidentally snip too many of the little wires and getting all the stuff off. So that got in. I got that hooked to the hot. Let me chip down a bit. Got that hooked to the hot. I ended up getting the stuff around the outside. You know what? Let's go around the outside. Take a look. Oh! Changing light levels. Can't even see me. Woo! Changing light levels. Gotta love that. Alright. So I've now got... right here, I got my little inlet. Let's set the hook up to a hose, like you would see at any camper. And then I got my drain right down there. And then, of course, that's where my electrical is in. Now, I was going to caulk all of this to make sure that, it was all done, but something happened when I was drilling out some of these holes. The little slugs, these guys, that were coming out, dropped out the bottom. Because this has an empty space, basically, has an empty space between the metal and the wood, and it's open at the bottom. So any water that gets in is going to drop out the bottom and not get to the inside. So I don't need to worry about caulking that. Which is good because that's one less step. So, got those in. The drain was a little bit of a tight fit, but got it in. So I got that in there to a T-section. This is my cold. I haven't hooked it up yet. It's just going to go right there. But I got the hot into the hot water heater. All done. So basically, I need to hook the cold water up. I'll do that in a minute. I still got to get these guys done. And I need to secure the sink to the floor once it's in its final position, which it is very close to. Because one of the other things is, let's get this down here. I got the drain hooked up. And that's all it takes, just that much. I still got that much tubing left. It's a good thing it came with the tank, because I'd be mad if I actually paid for that much tubing only to use, 6-7 inches of it. Alright. One other thing is I got my table in place. That's going to be my workstation for hand tools. And of course it leaves me my space over here for the sewing machine. I've got this whole wall to work with, but as you look, I've only got so much space in between, so I got to be careful with what I decide to put over there. Alright, so most of the rest of this is just cleanup. I got to hook up that cold water line, and then basically clean up all this cabling, get the tub secured, the sink, it says it's a little tub. That's its name. That's why I looked right at the name and said tub. So, just about done. I can almost be sane again. I will see you hopefully once my sanity is restored. Alright, so I've gotten most of the stuff cleaned up and such. The tub is as, secured as it's going to get. It's still a little wobbly just because of the way the legs attach to the tub, but those legs are now attached to the floor. I have tacked up as best I can. Oh man, can you even see this? There we go. Using the staples, I got those. I got some up there. Some of them were very nice and cooperative. Others, not so much. But the important thing is that they're all tacked down to the walls and ceiling so that they're not going to hang down, get in the way, things like that. I mean, we got some up there. They're still a little loose, but you know what? They're high enough up, they're not going to catch on anything. They are, it is function over form in this instance. So I had some of these hooks, you can see where they're missing. I ended up taking them, sticking them up, like, let's see if we can find it with the camera. There we go. All right, so I got one here, I got one here, here, and here. Hopefully that actually works, since I couldn't see the screen when I was pointing the camera those general directions. So those are just the hooks out of there that I've repurposed to hold the cords that go to the lights, because those just are normal cords that plug into my thing there. That is all set and ready to go. I don't have any face plates yet, I'm not worrying about it. This is function over form. That said, I did forget one thing in the last segment. I still have to put the door stuff on. So I've, like I've shown before, I've got a handle and a hook and eye to put on. So once I've done that, I'm going to close up and call it good. Well, I'll film one more segment, then I'll close up and call it good. See you on the flip side of putting this handle in. Alright, so it only took me about 15 minutes or so. Got all that hardware on. Actually, I brought my air gas filter, breathing mask, the air filter thing that I use for when I'm using the airbrush in, and just hung it from that hook for the moment. But it's right next to a little hook. I got the handle here. I ended up spacing it. You can see there was bolts here for what's on the outside, so I spaced it in between. It's a little bit higher, but that makes sense because I'm higher up off the ground here. So you just kind of, unfortunately it's hard to do it with one hand. There we go. Pull it in. Normally I'd be pulling it in on the handle. There we go. It's not up here. Let me flip this around. It's not a perfect seal, but that will prevent the wind from, catching it, blowing it open, anything like that. That'll keep the vast majority of the heat in the winter and the cool in the summer. So I won't have to worry about that. Speaking of those things, and yeah, this is what the interior is like with the lights off, because there is still, woo, yeah, you can see the light change there. There's still that one vent up top, so I'm getting some light in from that. Well, let's just kind of take a look around. So this is the back of the thing. We turn around. Here we are. So I got that. That's going to be my workstation. This spot right here is going to be for the sewing machine. I've got the water over there for wet forming. That bench over there, I still have to secure that better. It is secured to the floor. It is not secured to the walls. So I'll have to secure it to the walls before I get the presses mounted on it. But that's going to be another day, because fortunately that should take me about, again, 20 minutes once I get the parts. Doors over there. All these bloody cabinets. I actually did move some of these, shelves around, because that's where that extra shelf from that one went, because the rest of them are like that. But that'll be some nice little storage for stuff there. I've got those little drawers down there for some of that other stuff. This is going to be done for the moment. So basically, I'll start moving stuff in. I'll be able to start working. And things will slowly get back to normal. Other than that, I should get those face plates eventually. I am going to end up buying a little space heater, one of the little electric ones. It'll plug into that. That's what that's intended for. That'll just be like, somewhere between like 20 and 60 bucks, depending on what I get and when I get it. Other than that, there's going to be basically where that mirror is, although actually slightly this direction of the mirror, is going to be the AC unit. But like I said, I'm about 3 weeks out of season for AC units, so that's going to have to wait till spring. And then this bar right here is going to have to come out, because the presses, if you look, there's about that much space. Those presses are in a high risk of hitting that bar, especially the 4-ton that I'm going to put in the middle. That one will definitely do it, although I might not get that one right away because that one's a little expensive. Well, replace that one right away because that's a little expensive. I unfortunately don't have room in here for my 8-ton, but that's because that just takes up too much. It needs too much space around it to swing. So it doesn't have that big of a footprint, but it does require a lot of space around it. So that's about that. I might, if I can get a table of the right size. Wow, that is me being very dark. Maybe if I come this side, I can show that area and still show me There we go. All right, so this spot right here next to the door, I'm thinking if I can find a table of appropriate size where I can still walk through here and access stuff, I might put in effectively a small cutting table so that, you know, things that I have patterns for but I don't have clicker dies for, I'll be able to work on in here as well. Pretty much the only thing I won't be able to do is large scale dyeing. I'll be able to do some of the small hand stuff, but I won't be able to actually do the stuff, despite this thing being in here. I got a separate spot where the spray room is going to be, but it's, you know, not in this trailer. But it's also not ready yet, so I'm just hanging that there for the time being. I think I have taken up enough of your people's time with this video, however. So what I'll do is in the future, once I get everything moved in, and a couple more things done, I will make a update video that is basically a tour of the, probably at that point, nearly complete thing. I need to go home. I need to shower. And I need to rest. Because it's Sunday, and tomorrow the grind starts again. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, have a good one.